Okay, so this is just a quick little video before you have a look at the dagger soliloquy of Act 2, Scene 1. So I just want us to consolidate our understanding of Macbeth from Act 1. So we've got two Macbeths, really. We've got the Macbeth that we hear about in Act 1, Scene 2 from the captain. So before we're actually introduced to the character himself, we hear about him. His reputation precedes him. And so what is that Macbeth like, that character of Macbeth? Well, he has this warrior ethos to him. And he's ruthless, but for a purpose, for king and country. He doesn't seem to have any emotional connection with his enemies at battle. Think about that unseamed quote. And is able to kill what seems quite easily because his killings have a purpose. And he's ambitious, so we're told, but not for personal advancement, but for the greater good. So morally, what he's done with a reason, with a moral reason behind. And then we can contrast that character of Macbeth with the character of Macbeth that we're actually introduced to after he's met the witches and returning to Lady Macbeth. If we take this character into consideration, he doesn't kind of take much inspiration to consider killing Duncan. He contemplates the violation of his own kind of ethos, his own ethics and purpose, actually quite quickly. As soon as the witches have begun to share their ideas with him, he takes on board what they're saying. He doesn't seem to take much persuasion. The use of the dagger, which we're going to see in Act 2, Scene 1, is really quite interesting. The dagger can be seen as a tool of an assassin as opposed to a sword of a warrior. And if you think about a dagger, it involves much closer contact to the victim as opposed to a sword. There's a distance there. There's less of a close proximity needed, and that's quite interesting that it's dagger that is used, which again removes our interpretation of the warrior Macbeth. After meeting with the witches and returning to Lady Macbeth, the character's ambitious, but for his own personal advancement. The greater good doesn't seem to be there anymore. It's lost. And so therefore we've got this departure from his own moral code, his own ethos, or the ethos that we were initially introduced to. And this happens quite quickly. So what does this mean for us then? So starting to study Act 2, earlier on in the play we already have a character who may seem to act in one way yet internally is different, so he's duplicitous from the start. Therefore he's unstable, so we need to question how we feel and how we react to this character. So then, is that almost two-sided element of Macbeth? Is that the impact of the witches in Lady Macbeth or Lady Macbeth? Or is that just his actual makeup? Is that what he's like as a person? Is he a puppet to the witches and to Lady Macbeth? Or is it that they simply awaken what was already there within him? And I want you to start to think about this. Is this a play about female power or male power? Or actually is it just a play about being human and making choices and the impact on your choices? And if we think about DNA, we can link that bottom bullet point. Is this a play about being human and making choices? We can link that to DNA. Think about the characters and the choices they make and the impact we see on them. Yes, we can also analyse the female characters and the male characters in DNA and the power that each of those groups have. But that fundamental reason why Dennis Kelly wrote DNA is probably that last point about being human and making choices and the impact on the choices. And so in that way, that's no different, is it, from A Christmas Carol and also look from Macbeth. So start to think about similar ideas. What we're seeing is the impact on the choices that these characters make. And so therefore the writer here, Shakespeare, is trying to raise those issues. And if we think about the genre of tragedy and that cathartic element of a text, of watching it and being cleansed as an audience, that's quite interesting.